Sprint Canada was pretty small at the time. I got a call from a recruiter, and I was a little concerned when I did my homework. Sprint Canada was not in the best financial status. They were highly leveraged. They actually didn't own their own brand name. It actually was a company called Callnet Canada, and we actually leased the brand name from Sprint US. So there's a lot of concerns about the role. In my personal life, I was going through some change, so I was a little concerned about making a move and taking risk. But I went through the interview process and went through one interview, went through two interviews, went through three interviews, and I kept saying, I don't know. It's kind of risky, it sounds interesting. And then I met Phil, a guy by the name of Phil Hartling. Phil Hartling is still my boss today. I've worked for him for 8.5 years, believe it or not. Some people call us an old married couple because we actually can quibble a little bit in front of other people, which is not necessarily a good thing, but I've learned a lot from him over the years. And he convinced me, the risk was worth it. The job was interesting, there was a lot of opportunity, and so I decided to move to Sprint. Sprint was then acquired by Rogers 5 years ago. So that was an interesting time in my career as well. Sprint was smaller, it was an underdog kind of mentality, we always wanted to kind of win. We had no money. You never saw Sprint Canada TV advertising. We did flyers, and we peppered houses with flyers. And I know we do that at Rogers too, but that was our MO when I was at Sprint. And so it was different. We were bought by this big company. Luckily for me, Rogers had just launched its home phone product at the time, and they didn't have home phone experience. I had home phone experience, so though check, that means good. I hopefully wasn't going to be laid off, because I was obviously concerned when you bring two organizations together, layoffs can sometimes happen. I was fortunate enough to be asked to take on the home phone marketing team, and it was a big adjustment. I had about 15 people reporting to me. I was the director of home phone marketing. And it was a big challenge for me from a team management perspective, because I had to take the majority of people who came from Sprint, and we needed to figure out Rogers culture, Rogers processes, how you get things done. Everyone at Rogers was like, who are these people from Sprint Canada? What do they bring to the table? Are they going to do things differently? I don't want them to, rock my boat. So it was an interesting experience. We're very lucky that I think through working well with our stakeholders, so particularly the sales channels. When you get in the business world, there's always this kind of tension between sales and marketing. But it's good to understand the other person's perspective, because I think it helps you get things done. So we listened actively to our sales partners. We had more money. I hadn't cut an ad in I don't know how many years since I left American Express. We were allowed to do TV. It was very exciting. So we got to actually expand our tool set of what we typically didn't get to do, which was really exciting. And Rogers was the fastest growing product in Rogers history. We acquired over 1 million customers in 18 months. So very proud of that legacy, and the team did a great job. So my boss said, okay, time for something new. Phil likes to put me in new jobs every 18 months or so. So I moved on to do some marketing operations work, the channel marketing work, which was the interface between marketing and sales. So working with them to make sure they had all the proper information, they knew about our campaigns, they knew what to say to customers when they called on the phone, on the benefits of Rogers and why they should choose us as a company to provide their services. The marketing operations role was a tough role. It was results. If we weren't making our quarter, I was scrambling to put plans in place, last minute campaigns. And after about 24 months, I said to my boss, we went through a reorg, I'm done, no more marketing operations, I'm a bit burnt out. And I think you need to be aware of those things, because I think that can change your perspective of both your career and your outlook on coming to work and enjoying yourself. But I think if you're not enjoying yourself coming to work, regardless of how much money you make, it's not fun. And I think he listened, which was great. And so then I started the role I just talked to you about at the introduction of the presentation. So I'm very fortunate that I've had a lot of opportunities to work in a number of different areas. I call myself a marketing generalist because I've done a lot of different disciplines within marketing: acquisition, retention, campaign management and analytics, sponsorship, regional marketing, channel marketing, and that's the path I chose. Some people in marketing like to stay focused within one particular discipline. typically more in the campaign management and analytics side of things, where it's more modeling and stats-based and things like that. But it's an integral role to creating and delivering on a campaign, not only to target effectively your campaigns, but also to measure your campaigns, to make sure you're spending money in the right way. So I'll stop there. Any questions so far? No, I speak fast, I know that. So I'll try and slow down a little bit. Talk a little bit about the things I've learned in my career, and I put so far because I'm still learning. I've had a lot of great bosses, I've had a lot of great colleagues, and frankly, direct reports on my team that have given me advice and the things that I've learned. So I'd like to share that with you, so hopefully you can keep that in mind when you go out to look for a career or you get into your first job. The first is listen, listen, listen. A boss of mine when I first started in my career said, would you stop talking and listen? Because I was so eager. I wanted to share all my ideas, and I thought I had all this great knowledge coming out of university and with my new psych degree and BizDip, and I wanted to just share so much, but I didn't listen very effectively. And I think, what I learned over the years, and as I kind of, started to realize the importance of sharing ideas with other people, is that they need to share their ideas too, and everyone brings something to the table. And that's really important. So listening skills are important, not only from just, creating campaigns or solutions to problems, or brainstorming. It's really important managing people as well. And most of you will probably end up in people management roles, and it's really important that you have great active listening skills. It's sometimes hard to bite your lip, but it's worth doing every once in a while. So I'll give you that advice. Take risks. It's easy to take the easy path. I could have made the decision not to go to Sprint Canada, and I would have been miserable at CIBC for another, 6, 12, 18 months till the right role came around. But taking risks is a part of developing your career, and sometimes it may seem a little scary, but it's important to sometimes take a leap of faith. Make sure you do your homework. Don't do anything blindly. Make sure you read up on the company and educate yourself. Try and talk to people who work there at the company already. When I go through the interview process, if they allow me, I ask to interview with someone who'd be my colleague and someone who would work for me on my team. Some companies don't let you do that. Some companies do. And I think that's important to get a good feel for the organization and good feel for the team dynamics, which is a really important part of working in any sort of company, frankly. So be willing to take some risks. As I said, don't do anything blindly, but sometimes a leap of faith helps you in getting to that right job. Move laterally. When people start their career, all they want to do is be promoted, be promoted, be promoted, be promoted. I want to be a director, I want to be a VP, I want to be president, CEO. Move laterally. You learn more and you develop a broader experience base that other people appreciate more if you actually move laterally. What I mean is, if you're a coordinator, move to another coordinator role in another department, or if you're a manager, move to another manager role in another department. A lot of what I've been in a director for 10 years now, and I've been in 8 different jobs, but I've learned something in every single one of those jobs, and it's also broadened my experience so that if I ever do want to move to a VP type role, I'll have the foundation to do that. I've chosen not to right now because of, I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and the people at Rogers who are VPs work 60 hours a week, and I choose not to do that. But if I do ever make that decision, having taken all those different lateral roles has given me a great foundation that if I did choose to take that step, I could do that. So don't always be about the next promotion or the title, because I think people get caught up in title as well. As I've always said to my boss, call me the janitor and just tell me what my paycheck is, right? It's not about the title. It's about, is your work interesting, and are you fairly paid for it, and do you like to come every day? So don't get caught up in being promoted. I see a lot of young kids come into my team who are just like an assistant manager for 3 months, and they're like, okay, when am I going to be manager? I'm like you haven't even been here long enough to find the washroom, and you're wanting to be promoted. So you just kind of make sure you've got the right level of experience before you kind of get that aggressive career development path going in your mind. Try to have a solution if you've identified a problem. And if you have a solution, at least a diagnosis. And coming from a science background, a very familiar language to all of you, I see a lot of people start their career and they come in, again, thinking, I know a lot of stuff. I've got all these great ideas. And they point out all the things they do differently, which is great. But if they're going to point out things they're going to do differently, have an idea of how you do it differently and the value it would bring to the organization. That's really important. I love when people have great ideas. I love when people shake things up. But don't shake things up for the sake of shaking things up. I think idea creation and brainstorming is really important, particularly in my industry, where we've got to be creative, and it's highly competitive industry on all of our products, and it's a very dynamic industry. So we need to have those ideas, but make sure they're brought in a productive way. It's not always a problem kind of scenario; it's a solution scenario. Never stop learning. I'm still learning every day. Well, particularly in the industry I am. I'm not a technophile at all. And working with all these product development folks, learning new technology has been a steep kind of climb for me, particularly when I came from home phone service, which was dial tone, and had to start marketing wireless services, which was, tablets and iPads and Blackberries and, are you on a HSPA Plus network, on an UMTS network, are you blah, 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 blah. So I've had to continue learning, and I think that's really important. And I think it also, as I referenced earlier, gives you a better foundation for a broader experience with which you can draw to progress your career over time and make the right decisions, because you actually have continued to learn. I try and have all my managers on my team take at least some sort of a development course every year. And that could be anything from learning new information about product or service to actually leadership skills. One of the things that you'll find as you get into your career is that leadership skills are really important, particularly if you plan on managing teams. You need to understand how to be a leader, how to communicate effectively, and all those sorts of things are important areas of development that when we get people into the management path are really important to develop. So I try and get to all my folks on my team to kind of make sure and encourage them to do that on a yearly basis. And find a mentor if you can. And a mentor doesn't need to be somebody in your company. A mentor can be someone you admire that's in your family that has a great job. A mentor can be a fellow colleague in some cases. A mentor can be a boss. I typically have not chosen my boss to be my mentor because I like a different perspective sometimes. But having a mentor is a great way for you to bounce ideas off of, get a different perspective. They're not performance managing you in that they're not giving you your merit rating at the end of the year. So they can be a little more candid. They can be a little bit more, I think, honest and give great feedback. And whether it's on your career development from a mentor perspective or even doing your work from a day-to-day perspective, just getting feedback on what you've put together. I often use friends of mine to get feedback. I have a friend who's VP of Marketing at Mobilicity, our competition. We can't talk about work anymore, but I still value her opinion in things I create or challenges I'm going through with my career. And I have another girlfriend who's VP of Information Technology at Cara Foods, and she brings a totally different perspective to the things I'm doing in my career. So it's great to have those folks out there. It's hard to do it on your own, so I would recommend finding a mentor if you can, and changing them up every so often, particularly as you develop through your career. You need to change the mentors every, I would say, 2 to 3 years.